Today I'm going to be talking about comparative and absolute advantage. The research I did is resulted from the information I gathered from the company's websites and information I got from employees that I talked to from 3 out of the 4 companies. Let's start by talking about what absolute advantage is. Absolute advantage is the ability of a company or country to produce a product more effectively than the other company or country. What is comparative advantage? Comparative advantage is the ability of a company or country to produce a product with less of an opportunity cost than another. The products that I looked at is flags and medals. Let's start with flags. In San Antonio, I looked at Dixie flags, and in Austin, I looked at all-American flags. Because it takes a long period of time to produce one standard size flag, I had to break up the process and the percentage of time for each 10-hour work day, based off of the information they told me how long it takes to fulfill an order. Both companies told me they use nylon material to produce their flags, and they use an applique process, which is where they sew the material onto another material to produce the image. Dixie flags has an absolute advantage because they're able to produce quicker just by a little bit than all-American flags. They produced theirs at about day 20, while all-American flags was at day 22. Comparative advantage for Dixie flags is that one of the employees that I talked to on the phone informed me that they bulk make the American flags, so if a person was to call in and order just an American flag, they're able to fulfill that order within the same day. All-American flags does have an absolute advantage because when I was talking to one of the employees on the phone, he informed me that they also have a printing method where they print onto the nylon, and so it cuts the time of production almost in half, and so they can fulfill an order by just printing onto the nylon material instead of sewing it on applique style. Comparative advantage for all-American flags is that they cater to schools and organizations, so they can produce products geared to certain designs using a print-on technique. Now looking at Fiesta medals. Both companies are called Fiesta medals. One is fiestamedals.com in San Antonio, and the other is fiestamedals.net in Austin. Both companies told me that they use a dye method to make the medals, and they use ribbon to hang the medals off of and paint the medals using a certain type of paint. Fiesta Medals has a minimum purchase of 100 medals, while Austin Fiesta Medals has a minimum purchase of only 25. So in order to compare them equally, I had to determine based off the amount of time it takes to produce a minimum order in a 10-hour workday, and then calculate from there how many they would make and how many it would take them to make for 25 in one day. Fiesta Medals San Antonio has a minimum purchase of 100 medals, and because of this I had to calculate how long it would take them to make 100 medals using a 10-hour workday and the time frame that it took to fulfill the order, and then break it down into what it would be if they were only producing 25 medals instead. Austin Medals has a minimum order of 25 medals, and the reason I did this was so that I can compare them equally for the project. As you can see, Fiesta Medals can produce more medals quicker than that of Austin. San Antonio Medals was able to produce about 9, almost 10 medals in one day, while that Austin could only produce 1.5. The absolute advantage for Fiesta Medals San Antonio is that they can produce more medals in a day than that of Austin's Fiesta Medals. Their comparative advantage is because of the quicker rate, it makes it easier for them to produce more metals in a time frame and fulfill orders faster. I feel that the absolute advantage for Fiesta Metals Austin is that they only have a minimum purchase of 25 metals. This gives them a comparative advantage for people who only want to order a small amount of metals and not 100 or more. So what would happen if only one city produced one product and traded with the other? In this kind of situation, I believe that it would be more beneficial for Austin to focus on making flags and San Antonio to focus on production of Fiesta metals. My reasoning is that even though Dixie Flag and San Antonio has an absolute advantage in production of flags, it was only just by a day and a half. San Antonio is better equipped in producing Fiesta metals because it can produce 9 metals in one day compared to the 1 metal a day in Austin.